Salutations, respected viewers. This is George from Ireland. I'm carrying on my series about debating, and again, I'm going to debate the motion. This House believes that university should be free of charge, but I'm going to be the opposition this time. So that's why you'll see me in profile this way, because there you are. You're the chairman or chairwoman. I'll briefly look at you when I begin, and then I'll be mainly looking across at the proposition as I argue. So I've changed my shirt so you realise I'm a different person. So notice how I do it. I will greet everyone. I'll outline my four major arguments. I'll go back over each of them in detail, and I'll conclude with repeating them and try and sign off with éclat. What else? So a little bit of movement. You've got to change the speed, the tone and the volume of my voice, because what you don't want to speak is in a monotone where it's same. If it's the same speed, volume and tone, it's very dull. So animated facial expressions, a few gestures, a few flourishes like that. I've known speakers such as Peter Tatchell, who sometimes goes on up his tippy toes to emphasise a point, or people sometimes used to bang the table or whatever. So a little bit of theatricality, not over the top, not waving your arms ridiculously, or pacing too much, but a little bit of movement of the body. One of my best debaters used to sway to the rhythm of her words, whatever you find comfortable. All right, so I shall commence. Madam Chair, ladies and gentlemen, this House does not believe that university education should be free of charge, and I shall outline the reasons why. First of all, it will cost too much. We've heard no figure for the proposition benches. Second of all, it would have the dustmen subsidising the dukes. Third of all, it would do nothing to prevent rate inflation or dumbing down. Fourth of all, it is unaffordable and socialist and disastrous. We have been here before. So let me go over these points again in more detail. They are saying that the poor should have to pay for the billionaires. It is absurd. So much for social justice. Social justice, my foot. So people who come from very, very wealthy families, their parents can easily afford to pay for their fees. How about if the parents have been paying £40,000 a year for their daughter or son to go to an independent boarding school, but not to pay £9,000 for them to do a bachelor's degree? This is the height of absurdity. It's economically illiterate. Can they add? Well, their university education has obviously done them no good if they haven't sorted out basic arithmetic. Why should those who do not go to university pay for those who do? It's unjust. And I hear this all the time, non-graduates grumbling, say it's unfair. I left school at 16, worked all my life, yet so-and-so, he or she swanning around university, studying nothing useful, and we're expected to pay for it. That's what it was like in the old days when we had this. All this great inflation dumbing down, it also happened when we had taxpayer-funded education. And they didn't acknowledge that. This idea of paying fees in the United Kingdom only kicked in 1998. So, other reasons. Yeah, I can have to criticise their model. They didn't provide any statistics, any evidence. So how much is it going to cost? Where's the money going to come from? What are you going to do? Slash the number of places? Massively hike taxes? Cut spending in other areas? A greater deficit? That's public sector borrowing requirement? A combination of all these things? So they really have no answers. There are no details to this. It's an uncosted wish list. The idea that education is a right is for the birds. The other speaker, the first proposition speaker, cited the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and even he acknowledged it doesn't say a word about university education, only about schooling. Is a human right, says who? Says the proposition. This has no authority whatsoever. No country in the world regards it as a human right. It could be a policy, but it's most definitely not a right. It's like saying I have the right to eat ice cream on Tuesday morning and the taxpayer has to pick up the bill. It's preposterous. A social good, well, it's also an individual, mainly for the individual who earns more or indeed wants education for its own sake. So, all right, doctors do a social good. They also earn a fat salary. But social good, what social good does it do me if some idle person studies a ridiculous Mickey Mouse subject like cultural studies and then is lazing around smoking drugs and never gets a job in his or her life? No, it's ridiculous. It's not a social good per se. And if people want university education, they must pay for it. You're an adult, you're 18, take responsibility. If your parents are willing to pay your fees, fine, that's up to them. But I shouldn't have to pay for them. I pay for my own fees. I've studied degrees online, been autodidactic. You should have to pick up the bill for yourself. I didn't ask you to pay for that. Countries with a high university attendance are not necessarily richer. Georgia, in the Caucasus Mountains, has got one of the highest university attendance rates in the world and is not a wealthy country at all. Some countries like Germany only have about 20% of people participating in university education, yet still they have a fantastic economy and very healthy growth. So we should not expect the state to do everything. We believe in self-reliance. Stand on your own 2 feet. Pay your own way and don't ask others to do it for you. If we give it to you free of charge, you feel it has no value and you're much more likely to waste it. And indeed, this whole word free is misleading. It's not free. Money has to come from somewhere. It comes from taxation. And the more money we spend on people going to university, the less we have for essential public services like the health service, like defence. We can't pay off the public debt, and that's putting more debt onto our children, our grandchildren, to generations yet unborn. Less money to sort out the environment, to tackle crime, or to deal with real urgent problems. So most countries have moved away from that model of taxpayer-funded higher education. The world over, the intellectual battle is being won by us, our side of the house. Those who believe in a more free market attitude to education. And no, universities are not going to issue worthless degrees. Who would pay for them if it really is going to be so expensive? And grade inflation, well, that's self-defeating, so that will correct itself. So for the foregoing reasons, I say that we ought to reject this scurrilous and ridiculous motion. I shall go over them again. It's asking the poorest to pay for the richest. It will do nothing to prevent grade inflation or dumbing down. Furthermore, it's completely unaffordable and unworkable. Fourthly, it is not a social good nor a right. And fifthly, we believe that an individual must take responsibility for his or her own education and adulthood. For those reasons, I am confident that the House will reject this motion.